This is the story of Alexander the Great.
Alexander the Great, one of history's most celebrated military leaders, achieved feats that changed the ancient world forever. Born in 356 BCE in Pella, the ancient capital of Macedonia, Alexander was the son of King Philip II and Queen Olympias. Under the tutelage of the philosopher Aristotle, he was groomed from an early age for leadership, gaining knowledge in philosophy, science, and politics. However, it was his father, Philip, who laid the foundations for Alexander's remarkable conquests by uniting the fractious Greek city-states under Macedonian rule and creating a powerful military force. Alexander inherited this kingdom in 336 BCE, and within 13 years forged one of the largest empires the world had ever seen, stretching from Greece to Egypt and as far as the Indian subcontinent. Alexander's first task as king was to secure his power in Macedonia and Greece. After his father's assassination, Alexander, just 20 years old, quickly quelled internal dissent and solidified his position by eliminating rivals. To secure his rule over Greece, he crushed a revolt in Thebes in 335 BCE with overwhelming force, sending a powerful message to other Greek city-states that defiance would be met with severe consequences. Thebes was destroyed, and its inhabitants were either killed or sold into slavery, a brutal display of Alexander's authority. With Greece subdued, he was ready to pursue his father's dream, the conquest of Persia. In 334 BCE, Alexander crossed the Hellespont, now the Dardanelles, into Asia Minor, marking the beginning of his campaign against the Persian Empire. His army was relatively small, numbering about 35,000 soldiers, but it was highly trained and fiercely loyal. At the Battle of Granicus, Alexander faced Persian forces for the first time. Despite being vastly outnumbered, his tactical genius and the skill of his soldiers secured a decisive victory. This triumph allowed him to secure the western half of Asia Minor, and with it, valuable resources and the loyalty of local cities. As Alexander advanced, he continued to display an astute combination of military strategy and political savvy. Instead of plundering the cities he conquered, he often installed local leaders who pledged loyalty to him or adopted the customs of the area, blending Macedonian and local governance. By doing so, he minimized resistance and maintained stability within his expanding empire. After several successful sieges and battles across Asia Minor, Alexander moved south to Phoenicia, securing the coastal cities along the eastern Mediterranean. His goal was not only to weaken Persia, but also to control critical supply lines and naval routes. In 333 BCE, Alexander met Darius III, the Persian king, on the battlefield at Issus in modern-day Turkey. The Persian army far outnumbered Alexander's forces, but Alexander's tactical brilliance turned the tide. He arranged his troops in a phalanx formation and launched a direct assault on the Persian center, where Darius himself was positioned. Faced with the ferocity and precision of the Macedonian army, Darius fled the battlefield, leaving behind his family and substantial resources. This victory not only bolstered Alexander's reputation as an unstoppable military commander, but also shattered Persian morale. Many Persian cities began to surrender willingly, seeing Alexander as the rightful ruler. With the Persian heartland now within reach, Alexander moved south into Egypt, where he was welcomed as a liberator from Persian rule. The Egyptians crowned him as a pharaoh and declared him the son of Amun, an Egyptian deity, further legitimizing his rule in their eyes. While in Egypt, he founded the city of Alexandria, which would later become a center of learning and culture in the ancient world. Alexander's stay in Egypt marked a turning point in his vision. He no longer saw himself merely as a conqueror, but as a unifier and ruler over a diverse empire. In 331 BCE, Alexander resumed his campaign, crossing the Tigris and Euphrates rivers to engage Darius for a final confrontation. The decisive Battle of Gaugamela would be a clash of monumental proportions. Darius gathered a massive force, including war elephants and chariots, and positioned his troops on a broad plain to maximize their numbers. However, Alexander's military genius once again shone through. Using a carefully planned formation, he created a gap in the Persian line and launched a cavalry charge directly toward Darius. In the chaos that ensued, Darius fled once again, effectively ending Persian resistance. Alexander entered the Persian capitals of Babylon, Susa, and Persepolis, seizing vast amounts of treasure and gaining control over the Persian Empire. Despite his victory over Persia, Alexander's ambitions were far from satisfied. He set his sights further east, toward the regions of Central Asia and the Indian subcontinent. Between 330 and 327 BCE, he led his forces into the rugged territories of Bactria and Sogdiana, in modern-day Afghanistan and Uzbekistan, where he encountered fierce resistance from local tribes. These campaigns were among the most challenging Alexander faced, as the mountainous terrain and guerrilla tactics used by the locals prolonged the fighting. Alexander demonstrated adaptability by employing unconventional strategies, even marrying a local noblewoman, Roxana, to secure alliances. Eventually, he subdued the region and integrated it into his empire. In 326 BCE, Alexander crossed into India, where he faced King Porus, a formidable local ruler, at the Battle of Hydaspes. The battle was unlike any Alexander had fought before. The Indian army used war elephants, which posed a new and daunting challenge. However, through strategic positioning and coordination, Alexander's troops managed to defeat Porus's forces. Impressed by his adversary's bravery, Alexander allowed Porus to retain his kingdom, and even granted him additional territories, showing a rare display of respect for a conquered foe. Alexander's army, though victorious, was nearing the limit of its endurance. The tropical climate, unfamiliar terrain, and sheer distance from home had taken a toll on the soldiers. When Alexander expressed his desire to push further into India, his army mutinied, refusing to march any farther. Realizing he could not force his troops, Alexander turned back, beginning the long journey westward.
Men of Macedon, we're going home!
Along the way, he established several new cities, consolidating his rule and spreading Hellenistic culture through his empire. As he returned to Babylon in 323 BCE, Alexander began planning further campaigns, envisioning an even larger empire. However, these plans would never come to fruition. That same year, Alexander fell ill, possibly from a fever or poisoning, and died at the age of 32. His sudden death left a power vacuum, as he had not named a successor. His generals, known as the Diadochi, divided his empire among themselves, marking the beginning of the Hellenistic era. Despite his short life, Alexander the Great transformed the ancient world. His campaigns spread Greek culture, language, and ideas across 3 continents, creating a fusion of Greek, Persian, Egyptian, and Indian cultures. This cultural blending laid the foundation for the Hellenistic period, which saw advances in art, science, philosophy, and literature. Cities he founded, such as Alexandria in Egypt, became centers of learning and culture for centuries. Alexander's legacy is complex. To some, he is a hero who brought civilization to distant lands and created a cosmopolitan empire that fostered cross-cultural exchange. To others, he was a conqueror whose relentless ambition caused immense suffering. Regardless of perspective, his impact on history is undeniable. Alexander's empire, though short-lived, reshaped the political and cultural landscape of the ancient world, leaving an indelible mark that would influence civilizations for centuries. His life, marked by unparalleled achievements and intense ambition, remains a testament to the enduring allure of conquest and the profound effects of cross-cultural interaction. Alexander the Great, by blending the cultures of East and West, became not just a king but a legend, forever enshrined in the annals of history.
In the name of Zeus, attack!
We hope you enjoyed our exploration into one of the most storied figures of history, Alexander the Great, and invite you to join us for our next episode of The Rise of Humans.